I forgot to add the intro, didn't I?
Oh, gee. Hit the button, he says.
I
I'm
forgot we
setting
had.
something
I
up, he
forgot
says.
the fucking intro for this. Ah, okay, you know what? Fuck it. We're going to. We're gonna. We're gonna do this. The fucking. We're gonna do this a different way. Then it's good. I got 2 minutes of track left on this. Here we fucking
Welcome to Parallel Convergence,
go.
ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome to Parallel Convergence. I'm Andesian. This is Dr. Manhattan next to me here. You're listening to Armin Van Buren in the background there as we throw it back to some classic 2000s trance tonight. The title of this song is aptly appropriate for the topic we're going to be talking about this evening. We have been waiting for the night or day that Riot announces Worlds changes, and well, guess what? They did. And I'm not saying we nailed it, but as I've said before, podcasts at AmericanWhammy.com, we are available. Our salaries are negotiable.
Absolutely. Not like I titled the episode Nailed It or anything for a specific reason. You know, we sit, we drink, and we know things.
By the way, this is a banger of a song, man. This is like classic Armin Van Buren right here.
Well, I mean,
Like,
when you
anybody
said...
knows me, you know I love classic like 90s, early 2000s trance.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's before everything got extra digitized and mainstream. You could really feel the artistic effort from this time in Les Gens.
Oh yeah, no, like 90s, early 2000s. That was like, honestly, I think that was the peak of trance, and like because you have your Ferry Corsteds, your Armin Van Buren's, God, who else? Daft Punk is pretty much in their height at this time too.
Oh yeah, because not to
Deftones,
mention,
not so much trance, but
well, I mean, if you
still.
think about it, this is when trance was really separating themselves from your early mid 90s beginnings of house music. It's not
Yeah,
so much a different experience, a little less bass, more light, airy, yet not full on ravey.
yeah. And I love that style of music. It's like just enough of a heavy BPM, but it's got
Mm-hmm.
that like that you can like tap your feet to it. It's got
Oh,
energy to it,
oh,
but it's
BPM like the Sirius XM channel.
I see what you're setting me up for. And we're gonna get to that in a minute. Oh, you son of a bitch.
You said it, not me.
Where's the goddamn button?
You done messed up, Aaron!
In stereo, ladies and gentlemen.
You would know about stereo as we both now have the same headphones.
Yes, we do.
And stereo definitely comes through very nicely on these cans. But we can't be sponsored by Sony. But hey, if Sony wants to hook us up with some good microphones, I'm not trading in these. I mean, I love these. You can't give me a better set of headphones. I'm sorry. You may think you have better sets of headphones, which is nice. I'm certain you do, but I love these too much. But where was I? What was I saying? Oh yeah. Anyways, classic trance, classic house. That's my thing. I could listen to Armin Van Buren all night. We may have more Armin Van Buren on a special point of viewer that may or may not be after this on some or all or none or one of these not a network affiliates.
I like how you kind of wiggled around to narrow that number down.
This is what I do. I drink and I know things and I cut promos. So, as I was saying, Worlds announcements.
Nailed it.
There's a video for this, I'm pretty sure. Give me a moment because I'm going to pull it up. So I thought I had it pulled up already, and apparently I may have accidentally closed it, which is perfectly fine.
Would you like 35 seconds?
You know what? You keep setting me up for it, so yeah, give me 35 seconds. All right, so if you all are wondering, Sirius XM, but now he's playing the Star Walking on Oregon. As you know, one Mr. Jonathan Nielsen, also part of the network, is my roommate, and we were heading out to a friend of ours the other day, and his car happens to be equipped with a Sirius XM satellite radio.
As my old car was.
However, we don't have an active subscription. So, you know, between switching phone inputs or whatever have you, mostly phone inputs between his and mine, it comes up to that default station 0, whatever you want to call it, where it's literally nothing but Sirius XM ads of please buy our radio service. Them sons of bitches are using Star Walking in a fucking ad to buy Sirius XM.
I mean, it is a banger, as we discussed, so...
I think that this is good. Like, Star Walking is probably going to be more successful than Imagine Dragons Warrior was, which is, I guess, kind of saying something.
That's saying quite a bit.
I mean, it's definitely, you know, obviously Imagine Dragons are, you know, they're mainstream, at least for the time they were mainstream when the song was made. You know, it got airplay, it got actual regular radio airplay, but I definitely think Star Walking is probably going to be the most commercially successful League of Legends Worlds track outside of the League of Legends sphere. I mean, you got all sorts of covers of it. It's getting, I mean, you know, we saw the St. Louis Blues organist played it. It's being used on a fucking commercial for Sirius XM radio. I mean, you know, God knows whatever the fuck else it's been used for already, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that song, if I'm not mistaken, was written for Worlds. And yeah, Lil Nas X has kind of been like, I'm going to use this outside of Worlds, but it's definitely, I think it's very safe to say, going to go down as the most successful, or yeah, I would say most successful Worlds song of all time. I don't know about most popular. That one I think still goes to Imagine Dragons. A lot of people seem to like that one. Me personally, yeah, but not my favorite. I think Star Walking might actually be my favorite. Because before that it was Legends Never Die. But anyways, we have a video. I'm gonna go ahead and play this. And it's 6 minutes long, but the Worlds format and basically LOL Esports has been doing shit with communication lately, right? Like, it's no secret that pretty much it's Travis Gafford dragging Riot, kicking and screaming, saying you need to fucking communicate with people. And they have been, but Riot has come back from winter break and finally got their collective heads out of their asses and are attempting, and I definitely say that, attempting to communicate with the fans. So we'll take a look at this video they released a couple days ago.
Hello, I'm Naz Alataha, Global Head of LOL Esports at Riot Games, and I want to welcome everybody to Season Start. We have a lot of exciting updates to share with you. First, I want to introduce our new event, Season 2023 Kickoff. For the first time ever, we are celebrating the start of the League of Legends ranked season and the start of the 2023 LOL Esports season together. Today and tomorrow, the LCS, LEC, LCK, LPL, LJL, CBLOL, LLA, PCS, and VCS will host a special 2-day broadcasted event giving you a first look at the 2023 season in an adrenaline-packed event. Each region will bring together players from every team in their leagues to play against one another in a series of games. When one league concludes its event, the next league will take over the broadcast and jump right into the action. So be sure to tune in to see what super teams each league drafts. We also have a variety of updates from our regional leagues. This year, we're reprogramming our weekly broadcast calendar and start times to minimize overlap between regional league broadcasts so that fans who want to watch more than one league can do just that more easily. And be sure to check out lolesports.com for a more detailed schedule of all the action coming to you from your favorite leagues, along with updates on regional formats, events, and more. We also have some exciting announcements to share about our global events. Let's start with MSI. This year, MSI is headed to London. To tell you more about it, here is London's mayor, Sadiq Khan.
We're delighted to host the League of Legends MSI here in London for the first time ever. Esports is a growing sector and presents a hugely exciting opportunity for London and its gaming community. We want to bring the biggest and best tournaments to London, and MSI is a brilliant way to showcase our ambition to become a centre for esports. I'm thrilled to support Riot Games in this dynamic industry, both at grassroots and professional levels. London warmly welcomes all the tournament players and fans to our city, and we wish you all the best.
The event will take place from May 2nd through May 21st and will feature an all-new format. To tell you more about it, let's throw it over to Freak.
Hey everyone, I'm Freak, here to give you a preview of the new format changes coming to the mid-season invitational. MSI is expanding to include more teams, going from 11 to 13. The LCK, LPL, LEC, and LCS will each send 2 teams, while the LLA, CBLOL, PCS, VCS, and LJL will each send 1. MSI will now be 2 stages, and the whole thing is double elimination. Play-ins will feature 2 groups of 4 teams each that play through a double elimination bracket. The winners of each group and the winner of the last chance advancement match between the 2 lower bracket winners will all move forward. Those 3 teams will advance to playoffs with the 5 remaining teams to face off in a double elimination best-of-5 bracket until we crown a winner.
Thanks, Freak. We can't wait to see the new format in action. We also have some exciting news coming out of Korea. So let's go to Aiden Lee, Secretary General of the LCK in Seoul, for more.
Thank you, Naz. Hello, everyone. I'm Aiden Lee, the Secretary General of the LCK. I'm honored to share the exciting news that after 5 years, Worlds will be returning to Korea. Korea is the birthplace of esports, and you cannot wait to welcome teams and fans for Worlds. We'll have more to share about locations and dates in the coming months. MSI isn't the only tournament to get a new format. Worlds will also be getting a new format in 2023. I will now throw it back to Freak to introduce the new Worlds format.
The new Worlds format will invite 2 teams to compete in 3 rounds of competition: play-ins, stage 2, and knockouts. In the play-in stage, 8 teams will split into 2 groups for a best-of-3 double elimination bracket. The 4 teams coming out of these brackets will then face off in a final pair of advancement matches, which will be best-of-5. The 2 teams that come out on top will advance to the second stage, where 16 teams will go head-to-head in a Swiss format, where every round teams with the same record face each other, featuring best-of-1 matches except for advancement and elimination matches, which will be best-of-3. Finally, the 8 victorious teams will square off in the knockout stage in a single elimination best-of-5 showdown. So Worlds will now have 22 teams with 8 teams in the play-in stage, 16 teams in the second stage, and 8 teams in the knockout stage.
We are thrilled to welcome not only the World Championship back, but also a brand new format for the tournament. We hope to see you in Korea. Thank you.
2023 is shaping up to be a really exciting year. For a more in-depth breakdown of the format and event updates, be sure to check out our latest article on lollysports.com. And before we go, I want to extend a sincere thank you to you, our community. Your support, your feedback, your passion, it fuels this sport. And we are so excited to bring you the 13th season of Lolly Sports. Thank you again, and GLHF this year.
Yes, that was.
The Right Honorable Lord Mayor of the City of London. The Lord Mayor of London is currently one Right Honorable Nicholas Lyons, and the Mayor of London was the one guy you just saw that I'm not going to try to pronounce his name.
Sadiq Khan. And yes, because I follow British politics, I know these things.
So yeah. Nailed it. Fucking nailed it.
Because we spit on fire! Wait a minute, wrong show.
Well, I gotta add that to the list. Well played.
Thank you.
Well fucking played, sir. Oh, I was not expecting that, but it was perfect. Oh God. Okay. For those of you who do not know why I am broken right now, there's a famous Dave Chappelle skit. Name the 5 best rappers of all time. Dylan, and Dylan. Because I spit hot fire.
Anytime that Farouk, the greatest announcer ever, drops that reference on an episode of BattleBox, you know it's a classic.
Oh, okay. All right. That was good. That was well played, sir.
Thank you. I have my moments.
So John would be correct to steal a bit of a moment here from the Broadhurst Watkins Sports Report.
Sports in black and white.
Yes, so that did indeed happen. I believe we did call Emma. The only one I'm kind of iffy on, if I'd have to go back and check our VOD in our archives, is whether or not we called MSI in Europe. I want to say we did.
Yeah.
I think we called MSI somewhere in Greater EU after the whole Worlds in Iceland thing.
Yeah, we talked about that because of how with the relocation and everything, and we said MSI would most likely be in EU and then come to NA the following year.
Right. And I know we said Worlds was either going to be China or Korea.
Mm-hmm.
And Korea nailed it. I'm going back to our bracketology 49.99 episode from a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember us putting Swiss format on the table for Worlds.
We did not put the Swiss format on the table for Worlds.
So I feel like you alluded to it on Twitter. You've definitely alluded to it in our private Discord, in our hosts Discord. Can you explain this for the folks at home as I try to go find a graphic to help support you here?
Okay, well, first of all, no, Toby, this isn't a point of viewer. That's potentially later, depending on how we feel. And yes, in some ways, Swiss is the new hotness, and I'll explain. For those of you familiar with association football and UEFA, also those familiar with chess, the Swiss model has become a topic of debate and discussion these last couple of years. In chess, how the Swiss model usually works is that you are paired primarily with opponents who are of a similar ranking to yours within a tournament. That way, ensuring more optimal results. And not everybody would play in a true round robin. In some cases, that would be impossible. So, this is the best way for fairness to decide who advances. In the new model of the UEFA Champions League, this will be a thing. Champions League, Europa League, and Europa Conference League. So you have a set of teams, and we'll use Champions League as an example. It will be expanding from the current 32 to 36 teams. Those 36 teams will be put into, in essence, a series of pots. With those pots, you play 8 matches matched up against teams in each of those pots. And the entirety of those results determine who advances directly to the round of 16, who advances to the play-in, the 9 through 24, etc. So, how the Swiss model will work for Worlds is a bit of a hybrid of both. You have the 16 teams who will play not quite a set number of matches as in Champions League, where everybody plays 8, in Europa Conference League 6. How this will work: everybody gets an opening round. Whether you win or lose that opening matchup determines where you go for your next match. Because, very similar to chess, you will be playing teams with the same record as you. Now, as we see here on screen, your first matches are going to be best of ones. However, the trick to this particular Swiss bracket is you're going to play until you either win or lose 3 games. If you are on the verge of either advancing or elimination, that best of 1 turns into a best of 3. So as you see on the far left, you have your opening winners and your opening losers. Those teams will match up and play each other in a best of 1 after the opening best of 1. From there, it gets a little bit more tricky. If you find yourself after 2 matches on a 1-1 record, those 1-1 teams will all play each other in a best of 1. But the teams on the verge of advancing at 2-0 are the teams on the verge of elimination at 0-2. They will be playing best of 3s. Your 2-0 best of 3 winners are your first 2 teams to qualify to the knockouts. Your best of 3 0-2 losers are your first 2 teams eliminated.
I'm sorry I have to interrupt you. I'm being crashed at the moment. So, here, take this. They can't see you. Well, fix that. Here. I'm being handed a glass and alcohol.
Have this. You deserve it because you fucking called it.
I've been handed alcohol and a cup because apparently I drink and I know things.
There we go. He gets it.
Sláinte, good sirs. As another disembodied voice actually makes up for his presence.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not actually that upset at that. I will enjoy that later, though.
Again, it depends on how we feel. And I would need a break between both shows. Speaking of, damn it, did I forget to bring my snack in here? I'll rectify that at a future moment. But Ha ha ha. Stay thirsty. Well, if we do a point of viewer, I'm going to also have to reach out and make some calls and or text messages as well. So
we were explaining Swiss format before we got interrupted.
Yes. I got to basically this middle tier here. Your 2-0 teams.
I could hear you. I could hear you. I'm just
so you're 1-1.
Giving somebody a dirty stare, like, what the hell are you doing? You know I'm on air. But it was a good thing this time. Unlike most times.
Your 1-1 teams, they're going to be playing each other. Your winners will be either on the verge of elimination, joining the 0-2 survivors, or on the verge of advancing, joining your 2-0 losers. Those series will also be best of 3, and you're going to have best of 3s from here on out, as you're going to have either 2 wins or 2 losses. And in the very last case, after you have your next 3 teams, both your final 3 teams to advance in the knockouts will be those 2-2 teams. Now, my thing is, we talked about this in our bracketology superclass, and this is the one thing that I was wondering.
Bracketology capstone. Let's call it what it was.
Okay, the bracketology capstone class. And this was, let's call this an unsolved conjecture, if you will.
Oh, God. I'm not drunk enough for you to be mathing. Or right. Or both.
BKT 49.99. I swear, if someone at any institution of higher academia takes that class extension, damn it, some of us are going to be going and teaching there. But anyways.
Look, I demand royalties at this point, okay? Give me a salary, give me tenure, and I'm happy.
Podcasts at AmericanWhammy.com. That's all we ask.
I could teach the history of esports. I could teach business development in esports. Anything related to esports, I'm good. I can also do computer science and maybe a little bit of criminology, like, a 1,000 or a 2,000 course. Don't ask me to teach that theoretical 3,000 or 4,000 shit.
Oh, Pink Moscato. Good choice there, Toby. And yeah, depending on the professor, after week 2 of college algebra, you might need it. But with this unproven conjecture, we discussed the raw scheduling format in terms of matches per day.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
So I wonder
we still have that spreadsheet with that data.
So I wonder
spreadsheet with the data.
I wonder with this and how they're going to determine what matches for what days, but more importantly, how many. Because originally, you have 16 matches in the first 2 Swiss rounds that are going to
the data that we still have are the amount of games.
Uh-huh.
And the standard deviation for the total amount of games in Worlds under now old format.
I actually think
we never broke that down. We never did break that down to an amount of games per day.
Yes, we did, because we did that on the jam board.
I don't have the jam board. You have the jam board, so you need to go into your Google and find it.
All right. But as I find my Google jam board, I
have the spreadsheet that has the standard deviation data.
So there's going to be 16 matches, best of 1s, in the first 3 days, or in the first 2 rounds of that Swiss bracket. So my question is, how are they going to allocate that, number 1? Would you do a 2 super 8-match broadcasting day, or would you do something more reasonable of 5, 5, and 6? But this begs a second question, these middle rounds. You only have 4 best of 1s, but you have 4 best of 3s. how would you allocate those particular matches given what would be considered a very reasonable broadcast match day?
Yeah, but we have to back up before we even get to this point, right?
Uh-huh.
We still have play-ins.
Okay. Well, plans are
It's
actually
still now before you say or anybody out there says fuck the play-ins, because yes, that was formerly the state, and I have to emphasize formerly the stance of our show here, Parallel Convergence.
true.
It's not the same play-ins format that we're used to.
Not at all.
This is a flat out new double elimination. Not all minor regions
Nope.
play in.
This is going
In
to be
fact-
a play. This is going to be a play-in very much worth paying attention to and watching.
Yeah. So for the play-ins, it's a pair of 4-team double elimination brackets that will qualify 2 teams into the Swiss or the group stage. I'm sorry, it's always going to be groups. I don't care what you say. You make it a Swiss stage, it's still groups. So
with-
there are going to be 8 seeds in the play-in stage. The top 2 teams from the VCS, which is Vietnam, and the PCS, and then the top team from the LLA, the CB Law, the LJL, and in fantastical return, the World Qualifier Stage, World's Qualifying Series, formerly known as the Wild Card Regional Qualifier. Oh, wait a minute. It's literally only 2 teams, and it's at ADU.
However,
yes, there is going to be a pre-Worlds thing, which I don't think that goes back on that tweet. Yeah, no. There is a pre-Worlds thing, which I will flip this over here and you can see it. The Worlds Qualifying Series is going to be a best of 5 match between the 4th seed from the LEC and the 4th seed from the LCS. And the winner of that match goes to Worlds as the Western play-in team. They're saying, and I will highlight it here, in future years, we hope to expand the World's Qualifying Series to include additional regions and teams, which I think is Riot's way of saying, okay, we understand nobody likes play-ins, so we're going to go back and make it the wild card regional qualifier again. And we can get play-ins off of World's broadcast time, which with the Swiss format, they're going to need it.
absolutely.
Because then we really come full circle to what you're talking about of, yeah, we have to figure out how the fuck are we going to cram all of these games into what we would consider, or at least what I think the audience is expecting, or the community is expecting, of 4-day weekends, 5-6 week tournament.
Correct. And yes,
JTN, you're exactly correct. We're going to expand play-ins into a separate pre-Worlds event, which is extended play-ins, which is actually what it was originally. Before the play-ins era, which is what I'm calling it, let me see if I can. I'm gonna see if I could find it on Lolpedia here.
Something about this. You know
Yeah,
me.
it used to be called the International. It was
Yeah, the
International
International
Wild
Wildcard Qualifier, the IWCQ.
Yeah,
I could have told you that.
I was trying to find it on. I'm trying to pull it up on. Yeah, it's been called a few different things, but mostly it's the International Wild Card something. It's been called tournament. It's called exhibition. Called qualifier, but it was in the pre-play-ins format, where CIS, Turkey, Brazil, Latin America, South, Latin America, North, before one turned into CB law. Japan, Oceania, and what the hell was SEA? The hell did SEA used to be?
Southeast Asia?
Yeah, that sounds about right. They all sent their top team. It was literally a single round robin group stage. Then there was a bracket, top 4 teams to a bracket stage. Top 2 teams go to got seeded directly into the group stage at Worlds that year. So less filler games, which I think the league is trying to. I think with the introduction of the World Qualifying Series, I think league is going to slowly be going back to that. I would not be surprised if this format sticks, right? I am pretty sure that this is a very huge gamble on Riot's end, right? Riot knows that the community wants changes to the tournament, but Riot feels that what they have is perfectly fine and serviceable, which to an extent it is. I can't deny that. I don't think anybody really can. It's just not that exciting and engaging, except for, like, honestly, maybe a week out of the tournament. Like, the first week of groups and quarterfinals probably is the most exciting part of the tournament, if you really sit down and think about it. Because the first week of groups, everything is still up in the air, right? And then quarterfinals, there's still a chance to upset. But second week of groups, you pretty much know who's going to quarterfinals, right? Yep. And past quarterfinals, you've got a pretty damn good idea. At least under the current format, if you go back and look at past years, you have a pretty good idea after quarterfinals of who is going to win the tournament. There have been very few upsets outside of finals themselves in this 16-team or 24-team era of Worlds. Like, it's been pretty easy to predict who goes to the finals. Yeah. At least in my opinion.
Very, very chalky.
So, yes, it's serviceable, but it's not engaging. And Riot wants engaging. So, I think they're taking a very big gamble on this. And if this Swiss format sticks, then I would say by 2025, 2026, the play-ins are eliminated.
I can see that.
We go back to a legitimate 5-week tournament. Maybe even possibly shred it down to 4 weeks. Where all of groups, rather than them doing it, week 1 of groups is here, week 2 of groups is somewhere else, or whatever have you. Like, all of groups is in one place on one weekend, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or, sorry, on 2 weekends. And then quarterfinals and semifinals are on week 3. And that's in one location. And then finals, they get a week off or a week to prepare. And finals is somewhere else. So it's a 5-week tournament, right? Worlds has never been a month long. I don't think you can condense Worlds to a month long without under the Swiss format. I don't know. There's a lot of games you have to play here, right? Like, let's go back and look at that tweet again. Like, let's ignore play-ins for a minute. Let's just look at this Swiss format, right? This Swiss group stage. Let's do some math here. Now, you know me, I like having my math done for me, but that doesn't mean I'm not above doing my own math. We're looking at, I'm seeing what? This is this first, you can see my mouse pointer on screen. This is what? 8 games, right?
Correct.
There's another 8 there, so that's 16 games off the bat.
Uh-huh.
Then you've got another 4 on top of that, so that's 20.
Uh-huh.
And then you've got what? 3, 3, and 3, that's 12, potentially.
Well, what you would have is...
that's 3 squared.
You have your 20 individual best-of-1 games.
Right.
And then you have 13 best-of-3 series.
This is why I have you around, because you're the mathematician. I could try to do this in my head, but...
Because, again, 3, 6, 9, like you did, 11, 13. So, we'll be kind and split the difference, because you'll have anywhere from 26 to 39 games in those best of 3s, inclusive on a closed interval.
Well, so we're gonna. Well, you know what? Let's go back. Let's use some actual data. Because we did actual data.
Okay.
The standard deviation is 3.83 games, and the margin of error is 7 3/4.
Okay.
So split the difference with that data.
What do you think I was about to do? Not to mention those standard.
All right. I'm out of your head. Keep going.
I'm not
out of your head. I'm gonna sit in my comfy corner, but
yeah, sit in your comfy corner. Try not to touch anything, and ignore any of those weird images that have come up on the screen. Long story. Now, with this, you're absolutely correct in saying about the standard deviation and margin of error. However, JTN points this out. We don't necessarily have a normal or can assume a normal distribution for those particular games. As we get a shout out here on the screen.
Thanks so much for watching.
Thank you, Isaiah. Trust us, you may want to stick around. So, with that standard deviation and margin of error, we have to exclude those. Why I was splitting the difference is you can use a proper arithmetic mean, ignoring geometric or harmonic, because again, distributions, and say that you can anticipate 33 games. Reasonably. Again, minimum of 26, maximum of 39, round the arithmetic mean of 33 games. So, you have 53 games. Little bit of a hitch. 53 is a prime number. Exactly. Expected value of 33. So you have an expected value of a number of games for the tournament of 53 for the Switch stage, which is a prime number. How are you going to possibly balance that knowing that you're not going to be able to replicate the exact schedule? That was my big question.
Yeah, and I think that's something that Riot's going to have to figure out. Because I can tell you right now with 99.9% certainty, Riot does not want the Swiss stage or any other form of group stage to be longer than 2 weeks. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Riot also, if they can absolutely avoid it, doesn't really want to go more than 4 days a week. They will pull 5. We've seen them pull 5. But they really don't want to do more than 4, right? They want to do a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It seems to be their ideal these days. So you effectively have 8, we'll say 10-hour days. Riot will push a broadcast to 10 hours if they have to. You have 8 10-hour days. You have 80 hours of programming.
Mm-hmm.
That as a television programmer, yes, that is a thing. Look it up on Wikipedia if you want to, or Google it. A television programmer is the person who is responsible for actually determining what gets what time slot on a network. Famous programmers include Fred Silverman. If you're old, you know who that is.
Not to mention, for those of you paying attention to the National Football League playoffs, there's a reason why certain matchups have been for certain dates and times. Last week and this week.
But if you're Riot's programmer, if you're Riot's broadcast programmer, right? You have got to sit there and go, okay, I have 80 hours to play with. How do I make this work? Honestly, you have 18, or you have 16 teams, you have 8 games, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think you open on a super day. Yeah, it's going to be a very long day for everybody involved on the broadcast end. It's not going to be fun. Not for those guys, anyways. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. In fact, I'm wearing one of them right now. Shout out Dragon Con and DC TV. You open up Swiss one day, the Thursday, right? Thursday of Swiss stage. Bam. Super day. Get it all out of the way early. 0-0. Everybody plays. Boom, done. Hope and pray to God that there are no technical difficulties that force you into a 12-hour day.
No technical difficulties, no
pauses, none of that.
No
right?
72 minutes to dream, just...
The 72 minutes to dream is recoverable if it's 1 or 2. You just shorten up your analyst desk segment and can a couple of your interviews. Like, games going slightly long is okay, right? You program for... If you assume that you're going to have... If you assume 45 minutes a game, 8 hours is perfect.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Because you have to have that 15, 20 minutes of setup between games for refereeing purposes, for technical purposes, setup, on and so forth, right? You can't churn these out. Like, you can, tell these teams, hey, look, Super Day, you better be on your fucking shit. We will fine you if you make us 1 minute late. Like we will penalize you. Like you never see it happen, but I think this is one of those rare cases where when the teams get their pre-day briefing, because yes, that is a thing, right? It does brief players and teams before the days start on Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
You will hear them say, you will probably hear them say, it's going to be a long day for everybody. We expect you to know where you are supposed to be and be there at the times we tell you you need to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are not there, we will penalize you. So if you got to take a shit, do it before you have to start your game. But I think if you get that out of the way, that is a big bulk of your programming problem that you have solved.
Yep.
You can then likely take your 1-0s and put them on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Do your maybe you do your 0-1s, like your losing teams, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Either way, your 1-0s and your 0-1s are on Friday, Saturday. Sunday, you do your 1-1s.
Okay.
Week 2, you get into these best of 3s with your, people that are at 2-0 standings, right? You can probably cram the 2-0s and the 0-2s into a Thursday broadcast.
Wait a minute.
I have seen the LCK do it.
Wait. What you can do?
You've got an idea. I can tell it in your voice.
Yes, I haven't.
We got to let it cook. I'm going to let it cook. We're going to let it cook. I'm going to let it cook, and I'll keep going here.
Okay.
LCK has done a very similar thing where they have 2 teams play their best of 3. They take a dinner break, a lunch break, no break, depending on how long the best of 3s go, and then they go into 2 more best of 3s, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure that's right. I haven't watched LCK in a while, but I know that it is possible. It's worst case scenario. You have to have 12 games in a day. Again, it's another long day. I don't know if all of them go the distance on best of 3. Mathematically speaking, it's not all of them are going to go to best of 3. Or not all of them are going to go the distance, right?
Right.
So I think if you're the programmer, I think you can take that math and safely say, okay, I am putting my 2-0s and 0-2s on Thursday. It's another long ass day potentially, but the crew is also going to come off of 3 days off. So they'll be prepared to handle it, right? They'll have had some rest. It's not like we're at him to do 3 12-hour days in a row. Right. Although in week 2, we kind of are.
Yeah, because
the way I figure it, if you do your 2-0s and your 0-2s on Thursday, you put your 2-1s on Friday, you put your 1-2s on, actually no, you put your 1-2s on Friday, you put your 2-1s on Saturday, and you put your 2-2s on Sunday.
See, and what I'm thinking is Now, there's probably going to be a thing where people are going to shit on it and say, hey, Dr. Manhattan, competitive advantage, disadvantage, yada, yada, yada.
You're
Have
gonna
we
get the
not?
competitive integrity thrown at you, okay?
Because what I am thinking, and you had the right idea, starting with the Super Day, but mixing in some of those sort of middle series leading up to it. Because how you currently have it, you've got your Super Day, and then you've got 3 days of only 4 matches. What I would propose is if instead of 3 days with those 4 matches, you would find a way to either mix in a best of 3 series or combine those into like 6 match days, which
Get
you
out of my
can
head.
do.
Get out of my head.
You said let my idea cook, and I listened to you, and I'm like, wait a minute, that would subvert everything else if you can
And
condense
then you get
those.
a 3-hour day, and then you only get a 3-day broadcast week, which, okay, maybe some people yell, but less Worlds games. Yes and no. Less Worlds days.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not 100% sure if this changes overall, because what did we say the theoretical maximum here is?
59.
And for groups, it was what?
And for the groups as it is, quote unquote, or as it was going up to 2022, you had 8 groups. So there were 48
there was 8
games.
groups, and it was, I was going to say it was 8 groups,
48.
double round robin, and then tiebreakers.
Wait, no, because for the 48, so it was 96.
No,
because
48 was right. 48 was right because tiebreakers. I remember when we did that math to figure out how many games there were.
No, but when
groups
you play
groups was always 48 games, and then because it's double round robin, everybody has to play twice. So groups was always 48 games.
But see,
and then
that's
there was that possibility for tiebreakers.
But that's the problem. A single round robin is 6 games for a 4-team round robin. So a double round robin, which it was, is 12. So yes,
look, I know 48 is right because we did that math, and it was 48 groups games. Because there was 2020 where there was only one tiebreaker, so it was 49. I remember that now. It's 48 games for groups. So you're pretty on par for parity to the old format.
No.
You're going to have lesser games.
You are, but this is the point, though. You're not. Because, again, go back to and I'm going to have another example. What is another, as of right now, will be expanded 32-team tournament that plays in groups of 4? The World Cup. Each group is a single round robin. You have 6 group games. 2 teams play each other the first day, 2 teams play each other the second day, and then your simultaneous group matches to end each group. That's 6. That's a single round robin. A double round robin, you would double that because it was 48 groups games in a week.
16 teams, double round robin.
Okay, so it's
48.
Continue.
I actually went and pulled it up just to make sure that because now
I was
me fucking sitting there like there's no way I did that math wrong because we double checked it 3 times on air. No, it was 16 teams, double round robin. So yes, that's 48 games.
So it's
that was
16.
48 guaranteed games.
Yes, and then your tiebreakers. So you're only adding anywhere from, well, realistically, you're at
Realistically,
minimum.
we're probably gonna lose games, right?
Well, not necessarily.
Because
Because
what did you just say the maximum amount of games was if we under the new Swiss format?
the maximum amount of games is 59. The minimum amount of games would be 46. So if
So-
you're taking the expected value, you're only gaining 7 games. The 20 and 33, 53. Yeah.
Now I'm
You would only-
confused.
Okay. If all
The
you've got
expected
13
the expected value being how many games we should expect out of any given random group or Swiss stage.
the expected value of the games from all of the best of 3 series.
Okay, so you have to add that on top of the 20 from. Got it. Okay.
So that's 53. So you would be gaining 5.
Well, 2 on average.
You said
The
38.
average amount of games under the previous format was 51.
Uh-huh. So yeah, on average, you could be losing as many as 5. You could be gaining as many as 8. But going by expected value, you're correct. You would only be gaining 2.
So, okay.
Don't you start that hashtag. Do not start. Because yeah, 59's another prime number, you son of a bitch.
I have a feeling we're going to be doing more standard deviations and margin of errors and statistical calculations after this world's completes.
Oh no, we wouldn't be able to do it after this world's complete. We would need at least a few years to gain an accurate sample size.
Fair, but we can at least get some data.
Yes.
But the point being, it's going to feel like we're losing games, but not really.
No.
Right? We're just condensing it, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
But I can see you mixing in, do a 6-game day, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You do 2 games from the 1-0 group, 2 games from the 0-1 group, 2 games from the 1-1 group.
Mm-hmm.
And you go Friday, Saturday, Sunday on your broadcast day.
Mm-hmm.
Don't even try to cram that 4th day in. Nobody's ever liked the 4th day anyways.
No.
Now on your week 2, you're forced into 4 days.
Yes.
And I think doing the 2-0-0-2, then 2-1, 1-2, 2-2, all 3 of those as separate individual days is the only way you can go.
Spot on. Because not only...
But since technically speaking, the 2-0s are going to be the because remember, it's after Swiss, it's quarters, right?
Right.
The top 4 teams qualify into the bracket stage.
Right.
Yeah, I said that right. Since the 2-0 winners are going to determine 1st and 2nd,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you do the 2-2 because the 2-0, the 2-1, the 1-2, and the 2-2, all of that is like all of the 2 records are set by the end of the 1st week, right?
Oh. No, because if you would, technically, yes, but now you have another set of logistics.
what I'm trying to figure out here is, for suspense purposes, that 2002 Super Day, you need the 02 to be able to set up the that's the problem, right? You can't go out of order on this bracket.
No, you can't. So you would have to go 2002 on your Super Day, then 2112.
Which means you do know who is going to by Saturday, or by Sunday, who is going to go to quarterfinals, which kind of makes Monday a moot point. I think that becomes the disadvantage of this format.
Because here's the rub.
If the 2-2 games don't matter, which...
No, the 2-2 games do matter because, again, after Swiss's quarters, all of these teams are fighting for all 8 spots. Your 2-0 teams are your first ones in. They get the most rest. Then your 2-1 teams are your next 3. Your 2-2s are your most suspenseful day because all 3 of those winners fill out your quarterfinal bracket.
So in reality, the best day of the Swiss is actually going to be that 2-2 day.
Absolutely.
Because it's like the bottom of the bracket trying to fight in for that quarterfinal spot.
Yeah, the 2-2,
so your
it's
best
legit.
narrative is probably going to be your 2-2 day. That's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah, that is your win or go home.
I am a network programmer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Part of my objective as a network programmer is to put my most engaging content that I have available to me, my most suspenseful content, what I think is going to get the most eyes on it, in the most desirable time slot. Monday is not the most desirable time slot for the most suspenseful content I have.
Wait a minute.
I'm going with this.
Wait a minute. What if we have the right idea, but we have it backwards? Are you willing to hear me out?
I've been saying let it cook, and the pressure cooker is whistling right now.
All right. We have said with condensing the 1-0, 0-1, and 1-1 match days to 2 days, you have Thursday, Friday.
Well, you have your 0-0 as a super day, right?
Yes.
Now, unless Riot really believes that they really want to go 4 days and they break up the 0-0 into 2 days, which honestly I think is more...
Not
more
what I'm
likely,
thinking.
But go ahead.
So you are having those first 4 days, those particular days of the week, or which days again?
Typically, it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
So,
Riot only pulls Thursday when they have to have a 5-day week, which is usually only during play-ins.
Friday is your super day. Saturday, Sunday, you set up everything for all of your best of 3s. You would agree that your 2-0s and your 0-2s, put on your network programmer hat, those would be not almost 100% helpful to the narrative. Those would be the least as far as advancing the plot or bringing up any plot, right?
Depending. I mean, your 2-0s are going to be inherently good plot points because it's team defeated run at Worlds so far, who takes them down. That's always the narrative, almost always the narrative with a 2-0 team.
Because what I'm thinking is this.
Or sorry, an undefeated team, which in this case would be a 2-0 team.
'Cause-
Even double so if, let's say, one of those teams or even both of those teams or two of the four teams in that 2-0 are from the play-ins.
Because what I'm thinking is this. Instead of making that first week 3 days, in your second week 4, don't flop. Have that first week 4 days, have your second week 3 days, knowing that, as you said, your 2-1s, your 1-2s, your 2-2s are going to be in that mix. And the reason why I say that, because imagine this. Yes, you have those 2-0 teams on Monday.
How do you split that though? You're talking best of 3, so you have to program. Like, the problem is, and the reason why you have to put the each of these blocks. Let me go back to the tweet. To put each of these blocks as its own separate day is their best of 3s. Assume, right? You know what? Give me a moment here. I'm actually gonna pull up the statistics. I'm gonna go to Game of Legends because they have the information I need for this. Okay, the average game duration in the main event, so groups knockouts, for Worlds 2022 was 31 minutes and 40 seconds.
Okay.
The longest game was 46 minutes 11 seconds, and the shortest was 22:51.
Mutter, crystal ball, mutter.
But what the most important thing we need for this right now is that average game duration, right?
Yes.
So 31 minutes and 40 seconds. Let's assume, right? For these purposes, the short,
the longest was 46:11.
Bam, there. You can take a look at the same data I'm looking at. Let's assume, for the sake of this equation, that the meta is mostly consistent to the World's 2022 meta.
Okay.
Therefore, the average game duration remains the same.
Okay. All right. I'm with you.
Right? Let's just say, for the sake of argument and the sake of making this equation happen, relatively same meta that keeps games in this average 31-minute duration.
Mm-hmm.
For the sake of argument, I am going to say 35 minutes.
Damn it, get out of what? No, you're sitting in the corner quietly. I can't kick you out. I can't, because I was thinking Korean meta, a little bit longer, but it's Worlds, so you bump up the average. Keep going before I drive down and smack you. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, this is even better. Please highlight JTN's comment.
2,771 seconds versus 1,371 seconds, which gives a nice perfect mid-range of 2,071 seconds, 34 minutes and 31 seconds.
I drink and I know things. Even if my math is not on paper sound, I come up with the right solution.
This is why here on Parallel Convergence, we do the math.
If you're still here and you're listening to this mathematical discussion, we thank you, seriously. Because
again,
we know we're going into a very deep dive on this, but that's what we do here. Nobody else produces this kind of content, honestly.
I mean, granted, if you have listened to this show and our what we are now dubbing BKT 4999, there might be a quiz, but you can easily qualify as having a minor in bracketology.
Let's say, for the sake of argument, 35-minute average game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, we have to have 15 minutes. In fact, let me open up another tab.
Yeah.
Worlds 2022 rule set.
The mean being less than the mid-range or the median. Possibly Poisson. You have a lot of other distributions that would be right skewed because your tail is going off to the right in this case. Because you're looking at the minimum time between games.
There's a rule in here about how long they have between games, and I'm trying to find it. Because there's a thing about okay, so they have at least 5 minutes between games. I know that because they have 5 minutes from the time the Nexus explodes, which is the official end of the game, to do side selection and substitution notification.
Okay.
I am pretty sure it's probably going to take me too long to try to find it in the rules here, but I am almost positive that they get 15 minutes between games.
Okay. So at the 35-minute game, 15 minutes in between. So from start time of a game to start time of the next game, you're looking at 50 minutes.
Yes.
Okay.
Which is why I say a standard game, including all breaks, pick bans, etc., because you have to factor in the time for pick ban, because that's not part of that 35-minute average game time. The 35-minute average game time is from the time they load into the Nexus to the time the Nexus explodes.
Right, from the time they're on Summoner's Rift. Yeah.
You have to add in, let's do the math on this. They get 1 minute for each, a maximum of 1 minute for each ban. There's 10 bans.
So that's 10 minutes.
And then there's 10 picks. So pick ban could be at most 20 minutes.
So you're looking at just shy of an hour.
Right.
Okay.
So the general rule of thumb to go by as a programmer and really generally as a fan is a best of 3 series is expected to take 3 hours of actual game time, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Like, not including a pregame analyst desk, not including a postgame analyst desk. Talking about from the start of pick bans to technically the 20 minutes after a game is over on game 3. 3 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
Riot's ideal broadcast day hovers between 8 and 10 hours. If they could pull it on the side at 8, that's what they love.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go back to our tweet here. Right? Let's look at our schedule. If I am a programmer, I see 3 best of 3s. I immediately think that is one broadcast day's worth of content.
Okay. All right.
Because if those games go the distance, that's 3-hour pops.
Yep.
For
So
each set of teams.
you're
Which means
right.
looking at an hour broadcast day just on matches, I toss in a 30-minute pregame analyst desk because I'm going to do a 30-minute pregame analyst desk or pre-day analyst desk. And if I run long, maybe my post-game show's only 10, 15 minutes, but I'm looking at least 45 minutes of ancillary analyst content on top of a potentially 9-hour day.
Mm-hmm.
I am pushing my 10-hour limit, my
Right.
10-hour hard limit, which isn't a hard limit, but it is a hard limit because you have no idea what the hell is going to happen if pauses, remakes, anything like that happens. So if any of that shit happens, interviews go long, go bad, game goes bad, whatever happens, you're just tacking time onto a clock that you don't really have a lot of wiggle room in to begin with.
True.
As a programmer, I feel you are forced into these particular blocks being one day's worth of content.
Yeah, and I have
Because
no issue with any of
Adam,
those.
even if, right? Because we know Riot is very good at this. Let's take a look at the opposite end of the spectrum, right? Because as I've grown up and learned in life and previous careers and such, plan for the worst, expect the best.
Mm-hmm.
The worst case scenario is a 10-hour broadcast day. Let's look at our best case scenario. We come in, we have 2 O's the whole way down, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Again, we're averaging 50 minutes. We'll say 50 minutes for a game.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, if we really want to, we can cut that down. We'll say the average game time is 30 minutes, especially if we're having 2-0 days, right?
Right.
Probably shorter games.
Mm-hmm.
At least slightly shorter than the regular game average. So we'll say 30 minutes. Add in your 15 for post-game analyst. Players get to go take a shit. You're looking at 45 minutes a game. 2 games is an hour and 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Hour and 30 times 3.
4.5 hours.
Add your 45 minutes, add your 30 minutes of analyst desk.
5 hours.
Riot really wants to pad out. They think 5 hours isn't enough time on air, which they'll probably do 30 minutes worth of post game.
5.5.
If they really want to push it, maybe they do 45.
So 5.5 to 5:45.
Right. So in reality, you're looking at 5.5 to 6. Because if they realize that it's going to be a 2-0 day, they'll start padding, and in between games while players are taking a shit, getting ready for the next game, whatever have you, those interviews are going to be a little bit longer.
And this is what I was thinking about the flop. I'm not saying break up the 2-1-1-2-2-2 days, but I was saying how we had the first week as 3 days, and then the second week is 4 days where you start your best of 3s. If there was a way to feasibly split up the 2 O's and the 0-2s, you would.
I mean, you would if you turn it into a 5-hour day, right?
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking.
Or not a 5-hour day, or a 5-day broadcast week.
Because that's what I was thinking.
But
if
And John, JT, and I'm glad you say this, because this is about to get what I was about to literally just say. The problem is you can't interweave any of these because you have to have this. You have to have the finalized statistics of these first, right? You can't interweave anything past the point of where you are if that hasn't been resolved yet. That's the problem with the Swiss format.
And that's why I had my
because if I'm a programmer, I'm sorry, I'll let you finish in just a second here. But if I'm a programmer, well, that's what I said originally. Is my idea for what I think Riot is going to do is you're going to have a super Friday, right? You're 2-0 and you're 0-2, and then Saturday, Sunday, Monday is going to be 2-1, 1-2, and 2-2 respectively.
And that's
the only way. That's the only way I think Riot gets away with it, because I don't think they want to do a 5-day broadcast week,
and that
especially given. I'm sorry, I know I keep cutting you off, but I don't think Riot wants to do 5 days when a 5-day broadcast week gives them 2 broadcast days where they're potentially looking at a 4-hour broadcast day. And Riot doesn't really want to do that for Worlds. They've done it before, and it's like, wait a minute, Worlds was already on and off? Like, 4 hours in Worlds context is super short.
Right. And this is what I was saying instead of flipping and flopping. Instead of having a Super Friday, the casters might really hate it, but having a Super Monday, so that first week you have your 2-0s and your 0-2s at the end, then you come back 2-1, 1-2, 2-2 with those days. That's what I was getting at. Shifting that day and having a 4-day broadcast week at the beginning rather than the second week.
I'm confused, because how can you shift 2-0 and 0-2 to Monday if you can't, if you have to have that resolution to figure out who's advancing?
Well, that's just it. Are you not doing the same thing starting out that Super Friday with the 2-0s and 0-2s?
Yeah, because you have to play that first to figure out who else is advancing, right?
Yes, but what I'm saying is, if you're still playing them at the same day, when you play them is less relevant. It's just teams either going home sooner or advancing sooner. Because you would still have your 2-0 winners advanced, rather than having to play that Super Friday, they would be done the first week. Then your 0-2 teams, you have your 2 teams eliminated that first week. So you would still have your 2-1s, 1-2s, and 2-2s. You would still do, because you would already have your 1-0s, your Super Day, and your 1-0s and 0-1s. So then you would have those 1-1 teams. But you would still have, since you've done the 1-0s and 0-1s already, your 2-0s and your 0-2s.
Yeah, that would all be in week 1, right? We have a 3-day or possibly 4-day broadcast week 1. Depends on how Riot feels, right?
Exactly.
If they go the way we're suggesting it, you interweave, because you've got 12 games. You do, or sorry, 4 times 3 is 12. You got 12 games there. You do, 4 games a day over 3 days, but in 1-0, 1-1, 0-1, you do 2 out of each of those each day.
Yes.
and you open up on the Super Day 0-0, unless the casters or somebody complains too much, hey, we don't want a 10-hour day, then they break that up and they go, okay, half these games are going to be Friday, half these games are going to be Saturday, and they do a 5-day week.
Well, if you're going to break that up in a half and half, then you would go ahead, half of your OOs, half of your OOs, and then mixing in your 1-0s and your 0-1s. So you would still have this middle bracket after 4 days. Then you would be able to go ahead and do each of these. Then the only problem, and I see where you're going, and this is what I'm trying to figure out, I think we're back on the same page, is your 1-1 bugaboo. And I think this is the main flaw that I saw in this particular Swiss system. Because in a typical Swiss league, the number of games does not change. So all of these would be all best of ones. The fact that they changed it to best of threes, I get it, but you're making more problems for yourself than before.
Yeah, because if this was all best of ones, you don't have a single problem as far as your programmer is concerned, right?
Nope.
You can pretty much carbon copy week 1 into week 2.
Yeah,
put
because
your 2
it would
O's and
be
your O2s mixed on one day. You put your 2 1s and your 1 2s and your 2 2s. You interweave them because it's still 12 games, right? It's just that's only 9 games.
Yeah, because at this point, if we were to treat all of these as best of one, we have our initial 20, but then we're only adding 3, 6, 9, 11, 13. So you would only have 33 games. And honestly,
I think that's why they went to best of threes on those 2-0 game on the 2 standing games. Because I feel like, and I think it's a valid point, honestly, if you go from an average, or not even average, but if you go from a guaranteed 4 games to a peak of 54 games, averaging 51 in the group stage, down to a flat 33, people are going to say, hey, what the hell? And honestly, I think it actually would raise a very valid competitive integrity argument.
It would. And
how is this format with less games played supposed to determine a world champion?
And that's why a more true Swiss league with a more best of ones, like instead of saying, oh, you either have to win 3 or lose 3, you could do a Swiss league with these where teams would still be playing 6 games. But instead of playing teams twice, you would be playing 6 different teams.
Well, if I'm looking at this correctly, every team ends up playing 4 series.
Yes.
So it's still it's not a double round robin, but every team still ends up facing. It's not the group stage where you have 4 teams in your group. But every competitor still ends up facing 4 teams.
Not everyone, because your teams that are 0-3 and 3-0 would only play 3 series.
Okay, I think that's an acceptable trade-off. Riot is trying to keep. I think what we're seeing here with the change to Swiss is Riot is trying to keep two core principles, right? With the group stage. They're trying to keep it so that a given opponent or any given team plays 3 other teams in the groups format or in the group stage. And that groups has at least 48 games.
Right.
Because I think Riot is like, yes, we know groups is long, but groups is the most important part of the tournament. And I think that's something that the average fan doesn't really realize.
Right.
When a group stage in a tournament is done properly, which admittedly the double round robin format for groups has not really worked for Riot so well in the modern era of League.
No. We can agree on that.
Not since they got rid of the international wild card qualifier. Since play-ins, round robin has not worked out so great because you have more, I don't want to call them garbage seeds, but I don't really have a better term for it.
No, you're right. We talked about that during Worlds this past year.
But you have more garbage seeds in your tournament that don't really do anything to help your tournament, right? If anything, it and I'm sure you're familiar with the terminology of a Mickey Mouse tournament.
Yep.
But it causes your tournament to, when you have too many garbage seeds in your tournament, you tend to fall more into the Mickey Mouse tournament realm of things as opposed to being a legitimate tournament. And that's the problem that I think Riot has gotten themselves into with play-ins and giving everybody a shot. Which is why the community is given so much, which I honestly think is the reason why the community is given so much pushback on the format. I think, honestly, if you ask me, okay, yeah, Swiss is a good change. A lot of sports leagues seem to be adopting the Swiss format style. But if Riot had just honestly gotten rid of play-ins, and taken the play-ins stage as a whole and relegated it back to being the international wild card qualifier, sure, change the name, turn it into the World Qualifier Series, which is what you're effectively going to be calling it in 3 to 5 years anyways. When play-ins does go the way of the dodo and you go back to that. At least that's how I'm reading into it.
I mean, I don't see you being entirely wrong in this case.
But if Riot had just done that instead and kept the rest of the tournament the way it was, I think it'd be perfectly fine. Like, I don't think people would have an issue with the tournament at that point. Because the people that want to watch international, the people that like play-ins, the people that want to watch international wild card qualifier or world qualifying series or whatever you want to call it,
they'll watch,
right? You can give it the same Worlds branding and the same Worlds treatment if you really want to, right? But the people that want to watch that will, but bring it back to the old format where you had more direct seeds and it wasn't, we're going to seed 24 teams and you're going to have this, I don't want to say it, but Mickey Mouse shit.
Yeah. Right.
Because right now in group stage, you have 16 teams and half of them are like, right? Like you ended up cut with you ended up with direct qualification, Southeast Asia, Vietnam, and then you had 4 teams from play-ins, which ended up being the number 4 seeds or the number 3 seeds of the major regions anyways. Right?
Yeah.
None of the wild card regions, because I'm sorry, that's what they are. That's what they were originally referred to as. It's kind of terminology that's kind of stuck in my head. Maybe not entirely politically correct, but the minor regions didn't even qualify out of play-ins, right? The best performance we got in play-ins was, let me go back to play-ins here, from a minor team was, I think you can say that they should focus me, the Japanese team that actually made it to the qualification round. And if they beat RNG, they could have gone to groups.
Right.
Nobody else got close, right?
Right.
Saigon Buffalo was knocked out in the elimination round. Brazil was knocked out in the elimination round. And yeah. And the PCS didn't even have a chance. The PCS, both of their teams didn't even get out of the group stage of play-ins.
Mm-hmm.
A combined 2-8 record.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I hate to say it, but I'm willing to give it a year because I know that there's been shakeups, right? We've got the EMEA now.
Yeah.
You know, we have PCS has expanded and they absorbed Oceania. Like, we've had some geographical redistricting happen.
Yes, major. And I'll give this a probationary year. Observe and report.
Yeah. But if these new regions are still crap, right? And I'm not exactly saying that I'm getting my hopes up for it. Maybe EU a little bit, but EU is a major region as is. They're just expanding even bigger, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
We're getting rid of 2 regions, but we're expanding 2 by a lot.
Yep.
And to think we haven't even gotten into the MSI changes yet. But
the MSI changes, thankfully,
are easy. Yeah, double elimination.
Yes.
Plain and simple. But if it works out and we see a major change of an improvement in quality in these minor regions because of this shakeup, I'll sit here and gladly come on the show and eat my words.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, based on historical data that we've seen, the play-ins need to go bye-bye.
And again,
split them off into their own thing, like they used to be, and then go back to the pre-play-in format. And if you want an example of that, look up Worlds 2016. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it was 16 teams. You had 3 from China. From personal experience, words taste as bad as a dry super club.
Well, I mean, sometimes
dry super clubs are pretty bad. I accidentally had one.
Dry super clubs.
The blue boy, unfortunately, has had only 1 miss, but they were very good in correcting it. So I don't fault them for it. There was one time and ordered a super club, and they forgot to put any mayo or anything on the bread, and just gave me, here you go, here's some bread and meat, and yeah, their bread is good, but it definitely needs the Mayo or in JT's case, the Ranch or something.
Well, I mean, dry super clubs, certain teams on Thursday night football. Sometimes you just get a whiff.
Is kickers whose names end in Maher.
We'll be talking about that on the Broadhurst Watkins Sports Report
Sports in black and white
later this week.
But let's look at the 2016 World Championship, which was the end of the original Worlds format, right? 16 teams, 3 Chinese, 3 Korean, 3 Europe, 3 North American, 2 from Taiwan, Hong Kong, which I believe we're calling that is now the PCS.
Yes.
And then the top 2 teams from the IWCQ.
I mean, hell, even with a Swiss format with that, I wouldn't mind. Either or. And you could do a lot more with that Swiss format for 16 teams in lieu of this than you would with anything else. But, yeah.
I mean, it's still 16 teams, right? The Swiss format is still 16 teams. Right. I just think you eliminate the noise because instead of inviting 22 teams to Worlds, you invite 16 teams to Worlds, right?
Right.
Those minor regions, yeah, you've got to fight to prove yourself. You're in a minor region. Yes, it sucks if you're in a minor region. I'm sorry. Somebody has to be an underdog, right? Somebody has to be on the losing side of a sports record. Plain and simple.
You're not wrong.
Yes, you're going to have a longer fight through the world's gauntlet. But I am going to point in the direction of the 2022 world champion. If DRX can do it under the old format, which, how many extra games was that? Let me see here. They had to play. I'm sure I could probably still pull this up. Because the sheet is saved on my Google Drive. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they had to play 5 extra games in play-ins, right? If I counted that correctly. Yeah, 5 extra games because the worst record you could have gone was 0-5 in groups. So yeah, they had to play 5 extra games in play-ins, and it possibly could have been more if they hadn't gone 5-0.
Right.
Because I remember we did do the math on a previous episode of this, and we figured out how many games they could have potentially played if they qualified from the worst possible winning record. Unfortunately, I just don't remember the number off the top of my head. But if they can, spend the extra week or 2 weeks or whatever it was for play-ins, right? And play the extra 5 games and do the extra traveling and everything. Because again, you have to figure that in. There's jet lag and, all of that shit that comes along with it. Again, Worlds is half mechanical, half mental.
Absolutely.
But if DRX can deal with all of the extra bullshit from play-ins and still go all the way, and it wasn't exactly an easy all the way either.
Nope.
I'm pretty sure they played damn near the maximum amount of games necessary to, because they did have to play a tiebreaker in groups. And then in knockouts, it was a 5-game series in quarterfinals. It was 4-game series in semifinals, and it was a 5-game series in finals. So yeah, they played almost the theoretical maximum amount of games that a team could play at Worlds, and won the whole damn thing. And they were a 4th seed from Korea. Effectively being treated as a wild card region, right? It's the point I'm making is it's not impossible. Just fork off the ancillary crap that has been added in. And okay, if you qualify to groups, congratulations. Go win the tournament. Have fun, right? But I think we have this problem in League where all of these regions are saying we want a piece of the international pie. We're tired of being neglected. We want to be in front of the English-speaking viewers or the Korean-speaking. We want to be in front of the international audiences. But I think you have to sit down and say, well, what have you done to deserve being in front of the international audiences? Right? Like, we put you up against international teams, and you can't sit here and say that I'm wrong when we have, what is it, 5 years, 6 years, 6 years worth of data to look at.
Right. You're not wrong at all. Not at all.
We have 6 years of data to look at here where these play-in teams have been allowed to be a part of Worlds as a whole, right? Where we have the play-ins era, as I'm calling it. But if you look at those 6 years of data, I guarantee you, if you crunch that data, outside of a couple of fluke runs, and you know, good on them for doing it, right? And I'm looking at Albus Nox Luna when I say this, right? But outside of a couple of honest to God fluke things that, you know, where a play or a wild card region made it to quarterfinals, you are honestly garbage seeding the tournament. And I get the argument. We ain't going to get better if we can't compete against the world at large because the rest of our region is that poor. We could sit here and talk about economic parity between leagues, and that would be a separate 3-hour episode. We kind of touched on this when we did our bracketology episode. No, I think that's let me see. Let me put it on screen here. I think it's a little bit of both. It's honestly a little bit of both.
A mixture of resources breeds quality.
Because I think that's NA has this, believe it or not. America has this problem, right? North America is rich as hell, right? We're playing our players record-setting contracts in league ecosystem wide because we don't have the population that plays league high enough with high enough caliber quality, right, to be able to develop regionally developed and grown talent. there are teams that are doing their best, right? And we're seeing a lot more investment into developing North American, finding and developing North American players, right? But when you compare us to an Eastern team, you could compare us to Europe, but if you compare us to an Eastern team, you run into two major problems when you're comparing, say, Korea, and I'm going to just say Korea, to the US. One, esports as a whole is more culturally and domestically accepted there than it is here.
Especially, and I'm going to put a mild caveat, these particular types of esports. Because when you think more culturally accepted, esports is culturally accepted here in North America, specifically the US, but it's not League of Legends, it's not Valorant, it's none of these. What are our esports that are more culturally what? You shake your head. You shake your head, but come on now.
No, because I'm the reason why, and the reason I make this statement. Korean families are willing to let their kids drop out of high school to pursue a professional career in League of Legends. In North America, that shit is unheard of in any game. In Korea, half of the freaking pro players, period. I'm not even talking about League. It's probably somewhere in the range of, honest to God, 50% do not have a completed high school education.
Okay.
Hell, one of the biggest names of all time, Faker, dropped out of high school. He went and got the equivalent of a GED.
And honestly, I think we're going to be not so much for League of Legends, but I am noticing that more and more with the different games and different things here. FIFA, Madden, NHL. Are they on that level yet? No. But from what I've seen even in the last 5 years, we're getting there.
But
slowly, but we're getting there.
That's the first hurdle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Esports and video gaming in general, but esports is not accepted to the cultural level that it is in North America.
Now that part, that's definitely true.
Right? The second part is population. Plain and simple.
Mm-hmm.
This is all about the numbers. The more quantity you have, the statistical likelihood of finding or of somebody meeting a given set of parameters goes up. If 1%, let's say I have a group of 100 people.
Mm-hmm.
If we say that 2% of the population that plays League of Legends, so we'll say that's 100 people, not actual numbers, obviously, but easy math. I get to turn into math professor for a second. Oh, geez. If 2% of the population that plays League is at a Grandmaster level, that is 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
right?
Fuck no.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I heard that.
No, he went back in his room. We're okay for now. Now, let's say in Korea, let's scale that number up by a factor of 10, and we'll make that 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
Now your 2 players, your 2% that was 2 players in North America, in Korea, that's 20.
This is true.
That's my point.
Okay, fair.
Korea has a higher playing population of League of Legends. Therefore, the available talent pool is inherently bigger by law of numbers than North America's. Statistics have proven by Riot 2% of the player base is at Grandmaster level. Most pro players are in that Challenger Grandmaster level or have come from that type of background, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't make 2% appear out of thin air if it ain't there to begin with.
You're not wrong.
If you only have a pool of 100, you can only have 2 players.
Right.
If you have a pool of 1,000, that goes up to 20.
Yes.
20 is bigger than 2.
Yes.
QED.
What, you're going to
There's-
sit there and smirk and
there's-
waiting for me to
Yes.
argue? No, that was a proof.
Did you just?
Yes, I did. You have a problem with that, Mr. Math Professor?
Yes, I do. You are not authorized to use those 3 letters in that sequence.
Is my math lesson wrong, though? Is there any fault in my math?
You are not allowed to use those 3 letters unless somebody else uses them first.
Yet he did not say that my math was wrong.
Well, then I will say it for you. Quod erat demonstratum.
There, thank you. I didn't hear the conversation that part because I was preoccupied.
This is why I don't play Math Professor, because I'm not a math professor. But when I have to bust on top of the math soapbox, it's a bad day. But I mean, is any part of the argument wrong?
No, and this is what I'm saying. You're not wrong. That's why I was saying you're sitting there waiting with a smirk on your face, waiting for me to refute. I can't.
I'm not
simply
waiting for you to refute. I'm just waiting for you to say anything, really. I'm waiting for a summon and a bitch. I'm waiting for a damn it, you're wrong, damn it, you're right at anything.
Look, I am not drunk enough. I am not high enough. Shall we go
That's
on?
acceptable. That's acceptable. But that is the other major point that you have to look at as well, right?
Right.
And America, let's say North America has that pool of 100, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to a minor region, right? Where your pool is 50, your pool is 25.
Yep.
What's 2% of those numbers? At least of 25 and 50, you're talking decimal, right?
Well, 2% of 50 is 1, but when you go to 25, you're at decimals.
Your pool shrinks even farther down. That's why the rule to become a professional player is you have to be diamond.
Mm-hmm.
Because some of these regions, that's honestly what they can pull for. Because here's the other problem that you end up with, right? Not every single Grandmaster player wants to be a professional.
Nope.
Because once you hit that Master, Challenger, Grandmaster rank, if you've got even a halfway appealing way to yourself, you can stream and make 10 times the money.
Easily.
Hell, we saw Double F. Double F's like, I'm not coming back to LCS for the money, guys. I make more money streaming. I'm doing it because I have a competitive itch I want to scratch.
Mm-hmm.
And some people are like that. Some people truly want to be the best. And for them, yeah, that's professional player, right?
Mm-hmm.
But generally speaking, on average, not everybody is the next Faker. Not everybody is the next Jensen, right? Not everybody is the next Bjergsen, right? You are not going to be a professional player who plays for 5, 6, 10 years and ends up pulling 7-figure contract. Or ownership stakes in a team. At least not now. Decade ago, when Riot was when LCS was fledgling, or when esports as a whole and regional leagues were fledgling, maybe. But nowadays, no, not gonna happen. So, in reality, that 2%, that gets whittled down even further.
Mm-hmm.
Out of that, let's go back to the Korean version, right? Your best case scenario. Out of your 20 people, maybe 4 or 5 of them are interested in actually pursuing a professional player career. And let's not forget the fact that, as we would call it in the NFL, a bust.
Yep.
Right? We've seen a few of those throughout league. One season and done, completely underwhelmed, underperformed expectations. Yeah, they're in that 2% category, but they tried it. It didn't work out. They're doing something else. Maybe they still play the game. Maybe they don't. Who knows? But, maybe they're streaming now. They were able to springboard off of a subpar professional career of one season. Now they're a successful streamer. In a way, that's kind of where Broxa is right now.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a problem when you look at the minor regions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there isn't anything, honestly. Well, I take that back. For the purposes of argument, and I'm going to expand on this point a little bit in a moment here. But holistically speaking, there is nothing that is within Riot's control that Riot can do to produce more higher quality players, either in minor regions or across the globe as a whole. Because Riot can't go in and fix economic disparity.
True.
Right? As it is, esports is a loss leader for Riot.
Mm-hmm.
They can't go in and, I could say they could go in and make the game easier, which you could argue with some of the more recent changes they've been doing, especially in the past 2 years, and definitely in this past preseason, they are making the game easier to play. They're adding a lot of things into the game, like recommended jungle pathing, better leashing and aggro resets on jungle camps, objective voting and control, better communication tools. Riot is, to an extent, attempting to make the game easier to pick up. Maybe not necessarily easier to play, but they are definitely making strides to make the game easier on the new player experience to get people invested so that they want to continue to play the game and get better at it.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody so happens to be a natural prodigy at it after, discovering the game because it's become easier to play in the beginning, then hey, look at that. That 2% naturally goes up because instead of a pool of 100, now you have a pool of 200, 250, 500. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And you begin to close the gap on those Eastern teams and Eastern regions because at some point you hit a population ceiling, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The majority of Koreans, they play or they don't play, right? You're not really going to, by making the game easier, I don't think you are going to get more Korean players to start playing League as opposed to players in the rest of the world. And
No.
I say Korean, but in reality, I mean Asian teams or
Mm-hmm.
Asian regions, right? Where esports is more culturally accepted.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're in an Asian region, you feel personally, and again, this is just personal opinion, I have no data to back this up, really, that you have more than likely heard of League of Legends, you may have tried to play it, and you have decided it's for you or it's not for you.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with the high amount of PC bangs that there are, right? And League of Legends is the world's #1 esport and video game. Like those numbers have been published. They have blown other games out of the water with concurrent monthly active users. Now that data is kind of stale, and Riot has more or less refused to release additional data because that's what Riot does. But at one point in time, League of Legends was the #1 video game in the world by active concurrent monthly users.
Mm-hmm.
But by making the game easier, I honestly feel that they're doing it to appeal to Western audiences.
Mm-hmm.
Where Western audiences want games that are easy to pick up, easy to learn the mechanics, and go. Right? That's why shooters and racing games are as wildly popular as they are in Western regions as opposed to Eastern regions. That's why you don't ever really see Korea or China or Eastern teams dominating in games like Counter-Strike as opposed to Western regions, mostly EU, being crazy good at those games. But we ain't going to get better if we can't compete at the world at large because the rest of our region is that poor. Yes, there is some merit to that argument, but at the same time, your region, you've hit the cap in your region, and the data demonstrates, the data proves you can't hack. Right? You can't hack it at Worlds. To which, at some point, Riot, I think, has to sit down and say, is it worth continuing to give these teams a piece of the pie at the table? If you eliminate wild card, minor league, or minor region, whatever you want to call them, if you eliminate them from Worlds, and I don't mean eliminate them, but I mean relegate them, right? Go back to the super old OG system, right? Honestly, I think the only region that's probably truly gonna give a shit and riot is probably Brazil.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Because with everything else, if you're talking Latin America, they have other games.
Brazilian teams are Brazilian fans, as far as minor regions go, are probably the most vocal and show up the most to support their teams as opposed to any other region. I think it's pretty much Korean teams, then Latin American teams, then tied NAEU as far as support goes in international events. Because I have legitimately seen Brazilian fans take over Twitch chat during an NA game or an EU game just because the casters mentioned the Brazilian team or Brazilian player. Now, okay, granted, it's Twitch chat and they'll spam memes of whatever, but
if you're there,
those Brazilian fans got to be there to start that to begin with, right?
Exactly. If you're there,
a North American fan is not going to start that just for the lulz.
No.
That kind of shit doesn't happen anymore. For the lulz has been dead for a long time. But that's how I feel about that whole mess. And I feel like we're gonna have to come back to that at some point. But as far as, back to our original thing, if I'm the network programmer for Riot, boy, I am hurt a lot of people whose names may or may not be Naz Alataha under my breath. What the fuck did we go to Swiss out of every possible format option out there?
Swiss,
I get it's the popular thing right now, but God, are you making my life difficult?
Swiss in this exact way. I'm not knocking Swiss. I'm knocking this exact way they do Swiss. Everything else that's done Swiss, it's more manageable.
Because because it ultimately comes down to this, right? You can't make Worlds too long or nobody gives a shit and you devalue Worlds, right? Which is part of the reason why they need to get rid of play-ins so they have more time to work with.
Yep.
You also can't make it so Worlds runs nonstop, or it feels like it runs nonstop, because if you cram too much into too short of a time, then you end up with oversaturation.
You have to find a perfect balance.
If you're running 5-day broadcast weeks for 3-4 weeks out of a 6-week tournament, yeah, okay, one of those weeks is entirely off week, but still, then you're oversaturating, right? Like fans have come to expect one long week, usually play-ins, right? Like we're like, okay, we're going to have one 5-day week, unavoidable. But I mean, play-ins was 5 days, right? We had 4 days of group stage, and then we had a knockout day. And then groups was your typical 4 2 weeks of 4 days. And then bracket stage as it's always been since season 1 or season 2 or whenever they introduced that. I don't think Riot will ever change the bracket stage, honestly.
Which, if you do everything else right, the bracket stage is fine. It's fine.
I feel like if they change it, they'll introduce double elimination, which is probably why they're doing it at MSI to see if they like it and if it works, and how viewership reacts to it. But Riot's probably going to want probably going to want 2 years of data before they even think about it.
And I swear, if they do that, if they make brackets double elimination, you will see dramatic changes to adaptation of the Swiss model.
But
that's just me.
If I'm Riot's programmer, I am just having a go. I'm probably having a bottle of scotch and looking at a spreadsheet going, how the fuck am I supposed to figure this out?
You gotta make the math. That's always the hard part. Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
No, not really. Like you legitimately need a Fred Silverman or a Garth Anseer or a legendary programmer to come in and solve the problem. And I honestly am we're obviously going to cover it when the news drops, but to say I am waiting in actual anticipation to see the world's schedule is an understatement. I legitimately would like to know how they're going to figure it out. Because honestly, I don't think Riot can afford to go past 6 weeks for Worlds. And they don't want to burn their casters out by having them do too many days or too many long days. It's definitely going to be a delicate balance. And with the direction that Riot and esports seems to be going in by cutting talent or having talent do a very small amount of games and that or a very certain subsect of games and then shipping them out, I feel like they're either going to need to bus in more talent or they're going to have to be very selective on what talent is doing what. But in the end, I think they're going to have to bus in more talent. But that's another thing I hope they fix is not having the Korean talent go home in an all-Korean final. But that's another thing for another day. As JTN is putting Portuguese lyrics to something in the chat. I don't know what the hell that is from, although I do recognize some of the words. But yeah, if I'm Riot's programmer, okay, he has a point. I did say Brazilian chants.
Oh, so wonder. Em 5-8 foi Pelé. Em 62 foi o Mané. Em 7-0 é Central. Primeiro a ser tricampeão. 94 Mario. 2002 Fenômeno. Primeiro tetracampeão. Único pente é o Brasileirão. Or Brasilial. This last part is wrong, but what the hell is that? Is that a chance for Brazil in the World Cup? Very well done. Why do you have that look on your face?
Because we've been on this topic for way too long. we still have a lot more shit to cover. So if you've been here with us, I definitely thank you. This has been Bracketology 2999. Tune in when Riot releases the actual schedule, and we'll have the 39.99 course, or possibly a 59.99 course. We don't know yet. We'll let you know.
But in essence, all we're really trying to say is,
But wait, there's more.
Yeah, let's talk about MSI, shall we?
that's incredibly much easier and much more digestible.
Yes. As I pull up the MSI format here.
To be fair, I did warn people in the description, so at least in that basis, we're covered.
All right, so would you do us the kind favor of explaining the MSI bracket?
All right, so we've got these 8 teams here for play-ins. For those fans who are familiar with the College World Series, this should look incredibly familiar to you because it is your standard 4-team double elimination bracket. You have your opening round. Winners, they play your winner's game, and the winner of your winner's game advances. Your losers.
And yes, you are reading this correctly. He did say 8 teams. 8 teams that are seeding in. It's actually 13 teams total are being invited to MSI. The play-ins, which is what you're looking at right now, is going to feature 8 teams. It's going to be the 2 seed. There's going to be 2 seeds from LEC, LCS, and LPL. Then there's going to be 1 seed from LLA, CB LOL, PCS, VCS, and the LJL. This year, LCK2? The fuck?
They get a 2nd seed because an LCK team won Worlds.
Okay. So LCK2 is going... So normally there would be an LCK2 in the play-ins, but... So all 4 major regions have 2 seeds. And then LLA, CB, LOL, PCS, VCS, and LJL have 1 seed. The major difference for those of you who, the old MSI format, it used to be the best team from every region. Number 1 seed from every region, which was usually determined by whoever won that region's spring split. That's going to be probably a little bit different for qualification purposes, especially seeing as the LEC is running a 3-split format. So their qualifiers, I believe there is an actual qualification tournament or mini tournament between the top teams in the LEC to see who goes to represent at MSI. But yes, they are expanding MSI to include more teams, which I get that they do it because they have to have double elimination work somehow, and this is the best way, and I guess that's the best way to do it. But I'll be honest with you when I say I'm kind of going to miss MSI being this is the best team from every region in the world. If you can't hack it, you can't hack it. No, one team gets 4 seeds and another team gets 1 kind of deal. Like, there is no stacking the odds. Everybody is on even odds. But with that said, I apologize for the interruption, but please proceed.
So, you have your 2 4-team brackets. Your winners play each other. then you have your winners game, and your winners game winners advance. Now, for your losers bracket, of course, you have your elimination games. Then you would have your 1-1 teams. Then you would have a 2-1 teams for each bracket. So basically, the loser of your winners game against those that face the elimination bracket, they would go on. However, where it becomes different from the College World Series, normally you would have a 2-0 team play a 2-1 team with a twice to beat advantage for who goes on to Super Regionals. In this case, your 2-0 teams advance directly. Your 2-1 teams then play each other for a third spot. That third team advances out of play-ins. Like I said,
the cue to move on to the next part of the tournament?
Yes. So your 3 teams who move on from play-ins join your other 5 teams in what is a more traditional 8-team double elimination tournament. Again, for the College World Series, if you think about the format pre-Super Regional era, where it was only the 8 teams hosting the 8 regionals, winners went on to Omaha, this is exactly how it goes. You have your 4 opening round matchups. Your winners advance in the winners bracket. The 1-0 teams, winners go in a 2-0 team. Winner advances to the final at 3-0. And then for your losers bracket, every time you lose a game, you drop down into that elimination bracket. 0-1, 1-1, etc. Your winners
now
bracket.
Your seeds. Sorry, I'm trying to interject here. So your seeds for this part of the tournament are going to be the first seed from the LEC, the first seed from the LCS, the first seed from the LPL, and the first and second seed from the LCK, and then your top 3 winners from the previous bracket from the play-in stage. Is what they're calling it.
Mm-hmm.
Please proceed.
Well, I was actually...
I know you're explaining the format. I'm just trying to say, okay, here's the teams that are actually going to be in this portion of the tournament.
Yeah, I was actually just about pretty much done. Your first team in your championship final is 3-0, and then from your losers bracket, your 0-1s play each other. Your winners play the 1-1 teams. They play each other. Then you've got 2-1 teams. They play, and then the winner from that bracket faces your what would be 2-0 loser. Then that team, lower bracket winner, upper bracket winner, that's your final.
Ding, ding. Like I said, I'm okay with Riot using MSI to kind of experiment on format styles. MSI is never really held that much importance since it stopped being stopped holding merit or basis to Worlds qualification. Hopefully Riot gets the data they want out of this and it leads to some form of double elimination in Worlds next year, or maybe even in 2 years.
I'm going to say this. And I'm going to put up the graphic.
I know this is pretty much come from the community saying we want double elimination at Worlds. Riot's like, we're not going to give you double elimination at Worlds, but we'll give you double elimination in an international format to see if we both like it.
I'm going to pull, and I pulled up that graphic. It was right here and now. I'm going to look ahead. 2025, maybe 2026. We see double elimination at Worlds. The Swiss model stays. However, the Swiss model goes to more of what we will see in the Champions League. It's not going to be.
You're saying it's going to be a play-ins format?
It's kind of, sort of. What I'm saying, like I said, with the Champions League, you have all 36 teams, one big table. They play their set amount of matches, pre-drawn, not, all this, and that. It's going to be one big thing. Say more like the Rumble stage at MSI, if you will. Closer to that. And then your top teams go on to that double elimination knockout bracket.
Like I said, it's double elimination. It's Riot is like, okay, we're already going to fuck with Worlds format. But...
And this is where you get the modification. No, once you get to that final, it is winner take all, which that was always the case even in the College World Series. Originally, the last two standing, even if they were winners bracket or otherwise, played a single championship game, which was expanded to a best of 3 series.
Yeah, and you already know that's going to be a best of 5.
Yes, but I was just saying about, if it's 3-1, 3-1, they're even. No, it's these are the last 2 teams standing. Bam, 1 series to win it all.
Oh, God. MSI is going to be long as hell.
Yeah, didn't they say MSI was going to be 3 weeks?
Yeah, it's got to be longer than that.
Why? What have you discovered?
Every single one of these bracket stage games is a best of 5.
That's the problem. So 1, 2,
Every
3, 4, 5, 6.
Best of 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
How the hell are they going to manage that? I don't think there's any way every single one of these is best of 5. Maybe here. Sorry, I know if I could draw a line, I would. Here onward, right? Like this 03G, like these matches onward. Like what would be a traditional quarterfinals. Like all of these games here in this first row, including this first set of losers brackets, best of 3.
Yeah, because 1 day,
onward,
2 days, 3 days. Yes.
Well, we've already seen out of Worlds, you cannot program a best of 5. You can't program 2 best of 5s in a day.
No, what I was saying, when you do it, all of those is best of 3s. Above this, the left of that line, 1 day for those 2 matchups, 2nd day for these 2, 3rd day for the final 2, and then
for the
4, 5
the start of the losers bracket, yeah.
Right. Then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You would have 11 days for your playoff stage if you were to do it that way.
We're going to expand MSI to be a month long. They have to.
Yeah.
It's going to be like 1 week of fucking play-ins, and then...
Because are all the play-ins matches best of 3?
Yeah.
Okay. So if we go back to
God, Riot's programmer is probably shitting... I mean, I'm sure they were shitting bricks on Worlds, but this?
Because you're right. You would have to go.
You legitimately, this is like, you need Fred Silverman and Garth Anseer both to figure this fucking shit out.
Because basically, right here, you're right. This is 3 weeks. Just the playoffs.
Play it.
And then if you go back to the play-in slide.
Please hold.
Okay. Thank you. So, all of these being best of threes. 1, 2, 3, 4,
This is insane.
5. So you're looking at, in this one being a best of 5, 6 days. So that's 20 total broadcast days. So realistically, you're looking at a 5-week
20 total
tournament.
broadcast day. 20 total broadcast days.
A 5-week tournament.
If they do 4-day broadcast weeks,
they would have no other choice. They would have
Riot would go to 5-day broadcasts to keep it in a month. They do not want, I guarantee you, and you could put up predictions made moments before disaster, because I'll eat words on this too. There is no way that they want MSI to be longer than Worlds.
True.
And there is no way in hell they want Worlds to be longer than the 6 weeks that it all is. They do not want MSI to be at or even comparable to the length of Worlds. MSI just isn't at that level of prestige, and Riot, I don't think Riot wants to put it at that level. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think Riot wants to put it at that level.
So basically, your first week, that 5-day broadcast week, would be everything leading up to the losers final of play-ins. Your second week starts with that loser final, and then you go to the playoff stage. That would have to be the only way. Because if I read right and that the losers final is a best of 5.
Oh, let me. Says 8 teams drawn into 2 groups of 4 to compete in best of 3 double elimination matches. It says nothing about the final qualifying match or anything like that being a best of 5.
Well,
the only thing it says about best of 5s is it's the back bracket phrase. We'll see 8 teams faced off in a double elimination best of 5 bracket.
So then they're extra fucked because you would have that one spare match left over. Good luck with that one.
I don't know how fucking Riot is intending to program all of this. Like, I love that they're trying to give us more League of Legends, and they're trying to expand the best of 3, best of 5 usage to make it a little bit more definitive on who the better teams are, and to avoid, cheese and fluke day strategies, cheese strategies and fluke days. But I think we're going a little overboard here.
Realistically, if they got rid of that loser final and made a tweak from there, it would be a lot better. Nowhere near perfect, but a lot better.
I have a feeling Riot probably has already sat down and done all of this math and figured out how they're doing this, or at least they have a very good rough idea on paper, which is why they've announced things the way that they have. Because I don't think there's any way. Now, I could be wrong here. Riot's communication has kind of been shit in the gutter lately. Which leads me to believe that their planning may or may not be that far off. But I highly doubt that Riot would put out all of this communication and all of these new formats, right? without at least having some basic idea on paper of a highly judged idea of how they broadcast all of this, right?
Right.
Like they have to have got their network and said, look, theoretically, I give you this format with these games. Give me a high level. Can we program it in X amount of time? Like what we did with Worlds, right? It's like, if I give you this Swiss format plus play-ins, can we get this done in 5 weeks or 6 weeks? Leaving the traditional 1 week rest period between semifinals and finals. So, yeah, no, this is... I said it while you stepped away for a moment, but I'm going to say it again. I am really on the edge of my seat in anticipation to see what the actual broadcast day schedules are going to look like for the international tournaments this year.
We'll see. Boy, will we see.
Because right now, let me... Yeah, they have not. There's no dates announced. There's no schedule, like no time schedule or anything yet on League of Legends website, on LOL Esports site. So, but when they drop that, like I said, I am definitely, I will be there, and we will be here live on the air to break that all down for sure, and to see how right or wrong we were.
Because from what I'm seeing initially and what I saw in the video itself, they've got the dates for MSI.
Do they have the date? I don't think they announced dates for MSI, did they?
Yes, they did. May 2nd to May 21st.
They must have announced that in a different article then, because
That's like, if you can even go back into the video, I'm pretty sure I saw that in the video as well. They just don't have the dates from Worlds. I was right.
Oh, they won't put the dates up for Worlds until summer until halfway through summer split.
But I was
LCS
right.
Summer split.
The bracket matches are a best of 3. The last chance qualifier match, which is that last match to determine the 3rd spot into the bracket, is a best of 5.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do. We'll do a little bit of deeper digging on this for sure, because this is.
Yeah, we'll see, and we'll even go back to that video. But
I mean, I can go back to the video, but
yeah, and I saw in the video May 2nd to May 21st. So they're cramming all of this into 3 weeks. So basically, MSI is going to have to be nonstop.
It looks like it, yeah.
Has to be.
Yeah. Hold on. May 2nd, yeah, May 2nd through May 21st. You're right, it is in the video.
So yeah, the first 5 days would be your play-ins brackets. Day 6. Okay.
Yeah, he's just.
I'll be right back while you sort that out.
Yeah, so Freak said, I went back and listened to the video in my ear real quick. Freak says that the bracket stage is fully best of 5, but I can't seem to confirm that last chance qualifying match being a best of 5 as well.
Yeah, I gotta step away real quick, but from what I have seen, and unless things like Leaguepedia and others are jumping the gun, the only way for that to make sense would be a best of 5, because otherwise you would have an odd number of best of 3 brackets. And I shall return.
No worry. But yeah, this is definitely a mess. I feel like Riot probably realizes this is a bit of a mess. Unfortunately, as we know, Riot's track record on communication has not been that great. So we're definitely going to be waiting with hella bated breath over these next couple of months as things shake out. And Riot eventually releases more details on how both of these tournaments are going to work. Can you shut up, Travis? It video popped in my ear here. So all right, I covered that. I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need that. Okay. So while Dr. Manhattan has I want to play this with him here because this has definitely been controversial as well. I need to step away for a moment. So all right, so what we are going to do, we're going to take a very, very short break here, and hopefully, no, that's not going to work. Damn it, Dr. Manhattan, you had to walk away at the worst possible time. Once he gets back, and I'm able to step away for a moment here, we do want to briefly about the season 2023 cinematic and how it legitimately is hot garbage, and Riot's response to the community calling out Riot for the 2023 cinematic being hot garbage, or to be less politically and family oriented show here, absolute dog shit. And then we also have the 2023 LEC winter promo video that was released today. We'll play that real quick as well. As thank fuck Dr. Manhattan is back. It's all yours. I got to step away for a moment.
Oh, great. So now as you're queuing up for something, now...
I said we'll watch it when you get back. It's a 2-minute video. I've seen it already, so I can play it while I step away.
Okay.
That is perfectly fine.
Okay, this works.
Welcome.
The wrong video, actually. Would you believe that?
I was about to say, that is something.
Autoplay bullshit.
I was about to say either I'm high or something does not add up with what you
That
two
was
don't
the
describe.
lunar. That was the lunar revel
That
cinematic.
that made a hell of a lot more sense. Because I was like, not the
Yeah,
feel
no,
that.
we hit the wrong tab. I was going to talk about that, but fuck it, it's been talked about. This is what we actually wanted to share. So yeah, let's watch this dog shit. I mean, I'll let you make your own assumptions.
Once again, I stand at the brink of infinity. What lies beyond the shrouded path? Death? No, nothing that simple. The best part of me will live on in the scars I leave behind. I do not fear the darkness. I will brave the shadows, trusting nothing but my strength. I have found my limit 1,000 times, and still I press further.
Guys, are you the last man alive? Please be chased down!
Every mistake, a lesson. Now I will teach them to fear me. I will become what I must be. Why? Because I can.
You're
Well,
muted.
we are back at the LCS studio.
Well, this is what happens when you don't mute me, and I have to do it myself. So yeah, I think we get a 0.5 on the season counter because they played they played a clip of it in the video there.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the referee for a call.
Upon further review, there was sufficiently audio of the clip. Therefore, that is officially 0.5 on the Faker versus Ryu counter. Next time you call for the referee, I'm going to need a couple minutes so I can get into proper garb.
I knew you were going to say that.
I even have a flag too, so be careful.
Oh, Lord. I got a flag too, buddy.
Yeah, mine's legit.
So, can we talk about the dog shit season 2023 cinematic?
What the hell kind of deep thoughts with Dr. Manhattan was all a... The hell did... What? No. That was a... No.
That was not a cinematic. Okay, let me rephrase it. That was a great cinematic, right? That is not worthy of being called a season 2023 cinematic, right? The season cinematic is supposed to summarize like the spirit of the entire upcoming competitive year of the league. Right? Like, as an example, I'm going to play my all-time favorite cinematic for a season. And this one is the one from 2020. Go away, Windows Defender. Nobody likes you. Actually, I'll do this.
As a child, you would wait and watch from far away. You always knew that you'd be the one that would find you lay awake at night and scheme. I thought that you would change, but it was just a dream.
Yes. Now that is a fucking cinematic.
That it is.
Hell,
That
even
it is.
last year's cinematic was better than this, right? I just saw it. Now, mind you, I'm not the hugest fan of last year's cinematic, but even this was good. But I'm gonna let this play in the background while we talk about this. This year's cinematic. Of the cinematics have always been these champion-led stories, and usually have some sort of adversity to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
This year was okay. Here's us taking a camera, panning it through the rift while. And it's not even any action on the rift. It's literally just the rift, right? Now, mind you, they made the rift look amazing. Don't get me wrong. But where are the champions? Where's the fighting? Where's the lore, right?
Not
there
to
wasn't
mention
any of that in this year's. Let me turn this down a little bit.
Not to mention, and I get what slogans and everything, but make your mark.
But like every cinematic, right, has had champion-led cinematic with, like, here, right? That's
Yes.
Olaf, and that's his Q. Like, that's his Q ability. Here's Volibear, right? That's one of his passives, right? Like, these cinematics have champions where you see the champions, you see them engaged in conflict, but they also animate what these champions using their abilities in their kit actually looks like. In a, like, movie cinematic way. Right? Like, we saw that in the 2021. We're seeing that, you know, right now. Like, you see the identities of these champions in these cinematics. The one that we saw here was narration over an empty, the badass looking but empty Summoner's Rift, right? Devoid of champions, devoid of fighting. I'd even argue that the music track was a little bit subpar.
I mean, all of that subpar music track, it just seems like it was a lot of cliche, and I don't
It feels
mean
like they put no effort into it.
Get the fuck out of my head! Low effort was the exact 2 words I was about to say.
Like, look, here you can see Talia's using, that's her ultimate, right? The whole create the wall thing. Like, there's Olaf with his reckless swing, right? There's Sejuani with her, well, before they kind of reworked her a little bit, where she throws out the slowing bola. Like, it's just so lackluster compared to the awesomeness we've gotten in years past. But Riot, I mean, enough fucking shit came out that Riot came out. I gotta see if I can find the video. Where they pretty much said, okay, we hear you, we're sorry, we fucked this up. It's somewhere. I don't know. I know they put a video out on. Riot did come out and acknowledge, hey, you know what? We definitely fell short on our promise, or on our thing with the champion driven.
Seconds. And event updates. your 15th season of LOL Esports.
I'm trying to see if I can find it.
Start of the League of Legends ranked season and the start of the 2023 LOL Esports.
But I know there was something out there. I had it up and I lost it somehow. But yeah, no, they LOL Esports did pretty much come out and say, okay, we realized that this is not what you guys expect out of us. Oh, of course. Now I find this article after we just spent. All right, we're coming back to fucking. We're talking about the world's bracket again next week.
So it'll be lesson 3 in getting everybody's minor in bracketology.
Yeah.
Can you give a bit of a teaser, a synopsis of what you found?
Deep dive LOL Esports international event formats.
Uh-oh.
On LOLesports.com.
Oh, God.
They did the math. A lot of that math that we did earlier, they already did it for us.
Mm-hmm.
We just apparently didn't know where to look. There's kind of a loose idea of how they're going to program this.
So we can see how far off, or not, we are.
Yeah. So kind of, sort of, a little bit, but we'll talk about that more next week. I can't seem to find it, but I know Riot has acknowledged. I don't know why I can't find it, but right now, but Riot has acknowledged, hey, we fucked up the beginning of, or we fucked up the season's cinematic, right? And they're like, we will do better next year. We will return to champion-led cinematics, which I think is kind of BS because they really should have just said, you know what, give us a little bit of time, but we will deliver you a champion-led cinematic this year. Yeah, I'm trying to find it because I know I saw it, but I'm sure I'm gonna find it after we go off air. And I'm like, son of a bitch, I couldn't. Why was it was right in front of me the whole time earlier? But I know they did acknowledge, hey, we fucked up. We'll do better next year. Which I hope they do. Riot really needs to their communication issues, put it that way. But with that said, the only thing really that we've got left to talk about that I can think of, we did have the LCK show match, and then we also had the LEC. We do have the LEC winner promo to play real quick, which is perfect because I'll talk about the LEC the intro format show thing that they were. I don't remember what they called it.
Yeah.
I'm
you
getting
can
a little
find-
scatterbrained right now. Sorry.
You can find it, but it'll cost you. This is all I'm going to say when it comes to HeroClix figures of myself.
Why does Riot have to have 700 fucking channels?
Because they're Riot?
The season 2023 kickoff event. That's what it's called. But we'll play this video real quick here when I find it. That's the wrong tab. This. All right. LEC promo 1 minute video. Here we go.
Yo, the town feel heavy when you hear it. I don't do it for acknowledgement, I guess it's just a merit. They still trying to copy me, their voices like a parrot. Staying on my shoulders and I bear it like yoga. The numbers adding up, this is calculus, old school, so they stay counting on me like an abacus. Name is the stone, but acting like I'm not established. Miss me with the phone on the phone where I have to sit. Lonely like Akon, acting like I'm A1. Wishing that your neighbors knew your name like Trey Songz. You because can't stay strong, keep coming back for more, they thinking that I'm Jason. You messing with the great one. I backs to the wall, but they count on me. You can count on me, and I promise I'm the only one you need. Is it for the fame or glory? Past your limits, or you finished with the story? Yeah. You can count on me, and I promise I'm the only one you need.
I gotta admit,
Hello, LEC lover.
Remove that. There we go.
You know you can turn off things like autoplay and stuff, right?
Yeah. But I enjoy having my autoplay on, and if I turn it off, I'm going to forget to turn it back on. Because, yeah. The LEC knows how to use a fucking green screen, man.
They do.
And edit some fucking videos. Like, that was very well done. Even though it was a minute. It was like, that was very well done. Like, honestly, that was probably more effort put into that video than there was put into the 2023 season cinematic.
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and disagree with you on that with everything I've seen.
All right, so yeah, we had the LCK holiday all-star event thing, which I have to go back and watch because busy and things and stuff and bad timing. And it was like a multi-day affair. But I did watch the LCS's Boomers versus Zoomers. Yeah, that was a thing.
I saw bits of that, and I'm like...
Season kickoff event, and I'm like, okay, this is a cute little best-of-3 show match. They pretty much were doing nothing but shit talking. Okay, cool. I watched the LEC season kickoff event, Legacy versus Dynasty, and pretty much more of the same, except with the EU flair on it. So, basically, higher production value? Question mark? Keck? You laugh, but
I laugh because of how you said it, not what you said.
I think that's it, though. I think that's all we got.
Yeah,
thankfully.
That seems to be it.
If you've been here the entire time, congratulations. You have taken half of the required coursework for a bachelor's in bracketology.
You've got enough for a minor. Now you're going to see getting your degree in it.
Yeah, you've definitely got the minor. Let me do this and do that and do this, and there we go. Okay. Anyways, you want to take us out of here while I set up the actual while I get the outro music going here? We'll just play it from the beginning. Who cares?
Yeah.
Probably gonna take us 4 minutes to do the outro anyway, knowing us.
At the Andesian on Twitter, at Squid.
You can hear that, right?
Hold on. No.
God. Bless America. All right, take two. Let's try this again. I don't think audio works in window mode. Probably have to just do entire screen. Okay. Let's try that again.
There we go.
Okay.
At the Andesian on Twitter, at Squid Sportshead on Twitter. And if you want to find more of this craziness, along with a bunch of other craziness here throughout the Not a network as a whole, twitter.com/Not a network pods. Twitch.tv.
We do have that twin. We do have the twinned Pete. The twinned Pete. Yes, the twinned Pete. The pinned tweet. I swear I haven't had anything to drink, even though I was handed a bottle of booze earlier. We have the pinned tweet with the Discord in it, right?
Yeah. Or actually,
I already know the look on your face is like, what the fuck?
Even better with that spoonerism. There is not a pinned tweet. If you look in our bio on Twitter at Not a Network Pods, the link to our Discord is right there.
Yes, and if you join the Discord, make sure on the welcome channel, click the little thumbs up to accept the rules, that we can see the whole server. Helps keep the bots out that just want to see our user lists to DM you Discord scams.
So aside from all that, we are in other places alongside Twitter and Discord as well. Twitch.tv/Not a Network Pods. We will be sunsetting Twitch.tv/AWP Podcasts on February 1st. 2 weeks from, well, now today, January 18th. Keep that in mind. YouTube.com/@Not a Network Pods. Yes, the @ is necessary. And of course, we mentioned our personal Twitters, personal Twitch, twitch.tv/Andesian. If you can't get enough of this guy.
If you can't get enough of me jamming to some old school Armin van Buuren, which, by the way, if you are wondering, it's called "Waiting for the Night" by Armin van Buuren featuring Fiora. If you go look it up on YouTube, you'll find it real easy, I promise.
Yeah. Expect on the Not a Network Point of Viewer later this week. The Broadhurst Watkins Sports Report.
Are we going to shoot for that for tomorrow? Can we try for that for tomorrow?
We can.
Oh, wait, we can't because, well,
Because
BWSR and Harry probably is going to want to do a double header again, or now, because he didn't do one last week.
If need be, we'll see about that, because the main reason why BWSR is moving to Wednesdays was because of Life is Like a Game show, which we haven't ironed out. So we will continue to be on Thursdays as a possibility.
Yeah, we have to have that all hands meeting again to figure out the net. I have to sit down and reprogram the network again.
So yes, we can do Point of Viewer tomorrow and BWSR potential doubleheader on Thursday.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's only Tuesday. I'm looking at the clock and seeing Wednesday because it's after midnight, and that's what threw my brain for a loop. So yeah, I don't see why we can't do a Point of Viewer tomorrow.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
For some reason, I'm
fine.
thinking tomorrow is Thursday. It's just after midnight.
Yeah, so again, entirely doable. And boy, is that going to be a doozy.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about on that show.
Oh, and I'm going to also add the latest weird dreams.
Yeah. But anyways, this has been Parallel Convergence. I'm Andesian. That's Dr. Manhattan, Squid Sports Head, whatever you want to call him. The DSDO of the network, as we've officially given him that title. Among others. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week with, I believe, the kickoff of the LCS. I believe the LCS starts next Wednesday, right?
I think. Kickoff of the LCS, the third course in...
No, it begins on January 26th. So, no, not quite yet.
Okay, so that is this...
We will be past the lock-in date for rosters, though. So since we haven't gotten... Since this episode was going to be us talking about finalized rosters and everything, but got cannibalized by Worlds format changes.
And will be cannibalized probably again.
Next week, we will talk about LCS finalized rosters, because they'll definitely be past the lock date at that point. So we'll know who is on whose roster for sure. And nobody will pull the last minute on us. But anyways, like I said, I'm Andesian, that's Dr. Manhattan. Next week, Parallel Convergence, LCS rosters, and we have a banner for this. The official power rankings of Andesian. Until then, you'll be waiting for the night here on Parallel Convergence. Good night.